Among the most enchanting and influential women of 19th century Europe, one name stands above all: Empress Elisabeth of Austria, the woman the world calls Sisi, a true fashion icon, a global superstar long before the age of Hollywood. Countless admirers adored her beauty and mystery, but behind the fame lived a young woman tormented by loneliness, a free-spirited soul trapped inside a golden cage, loved by millions, yet misunderstood by those closest to her. Who was Sisi, really? Why did she become a legend? And how could someone who seemingly had everything feel like she had nothing? Today we explore Sisi's transformation from a carefree Bavarian girl into the Empress of the Austro-Hungarian Empire in this first chapter of her extraordinary life. Elisabeth Amalie Eugenie von Wittelsbach was born on December 24, 1837, a Christmas Eve baby, in Munich. Her family affectionately called her Liesel, or Sisi, the name that would one day charm the entire continent. She was born into the prestigious House of Wittelsbach, but not the most powerful branch. Her parents' marriage, between Duke Maximilian and Duchess Ludovica, was arranged, not chosen, and that shaped the atmosphere Sisi grew up in. Her father, Duke Max, was a free-spirited adventurer, a man of music, travel, and absolute independence. He was rarely at home, always chasing the world. Her mother, Ludovica, longed for love, but settled for duty. She quietly wished that her daughters would live a different life. In 1834, the family acquired a new home, Possenhofen Castle, on the shores of Lake Starnberg. For Ludovica, it became an escape from a disappointing marriage. For Sisi, it was a paradise. Here she lived the childhood every child dreams of, carefree, close to nature, with animals everywhere: deer, sheep, ducks, horses. If a sheep wandered into the palace hall, nobody was surprised. Education existed, but lightly. No strict lessons, no endless etiquette. Instead, riding horses, rowing on the lake, laughing under the sun. Sisi adored her father. He taught her to ride, to move with grace, and to love nature more than courtly walls. He would dress in disguise, play his zither at village fairs, and let Sisi dance beside him, collecting coins thrown by local children. Sisi once joked, "These are the only coins I've ever earned honestly." This freedom defined her soul, a soul that would suffer terribly once caged. But while Sisi was enjoying a childhood full of green fields and open skies, fate was preparing a very different future for her, far away in Vienna. In 1848, Europe shook with revolutions. In the Austrian Empire, a young prince, barely 18, was pushed onto the throne, Franz Joseph I. Not because he was ready, but because his mother, Archduchess Sophie, demanded it. He became a strict authoritarian ruler. Order before mercy, duty before emotion. His iron-fisted leadership angered many subjects. Sophie knew that if her son wanted to keep his crown, he needed a new image, a softer one. So she devised a plan, a perfect imperial marriage, a beautiful young empress who could win the people's hearts. Her ideal candidate, Helene, the older sister of Sisi, elegant, educated, the model princess. Duchess Ludovica hesitated. She knew the pain of a political marriage, but how could she refuse the Emperor of Austria? Duke Max, uninterested in such formalities, refused to join the trip. "Bad Ischl is boring," he said. So only Ludovica, Helene, and the younger sister, little Sisi, traveled to the imperial resort of Bad Ischl. Just a family visit, or so they thought. August 16th, 1853. The imperial family gathers. Helene stands ready, prepared to impress her future husband. But as Emperor Franz Joseph enters, his eyes fall not on Helene, but on Sisi, a 15-year-old girl, shy but radiant, wild, untouched by court discipline. A breath of freedom Franz had never known. He fell in love instantly. Archduchess Sophie was reportedly horrified. What does he want with that little girl? Within days, the emperor broke all expectations. He refused Helene and chose Sisi as his bride, a story almost unheard of in royal history. An emperor marrying for love. For Sisi, it was overwhelming. She admired Franz. He was kind and gentle. But the idea of becoming empress? That was beyond her imagination. One moment did warm her heart. A private carriage ride through the valleys of Salzkammergut. Just the two of them. No guards, no protocol, only the sound of wind and mountains. It was the first, and perhaps the last, moment when love felt pure and real, before duty swallowed everything. Within months, preparations for the wedding began. Teachers from Vienna trained Sisi in languages, history, and court manners. Dressmakers created her imperial wardrobe. Jewelers crafted her tiaras. Sisi, once a carefree girl in muddy boots, was now a spectacle for an entire empire. The journey to Vienna became a royal festival. Crowds gathered at every stop, bands played, decorations hung from every street. Sisi rode into Vienna in a golden carriage originally built for Napoleon Bonaparte, a symbol of absolute power. But when she stepped out, her crown caught the edge of the door. She stumbled, she cried. Her very first moment before the Austrian people ended in tears. Whispers rose. A bad omen. This empress will never be happy. For Sisi, the crown had never felt heavier. The wedding festivities at the Hofburg palace dazzled the world, but for Sisi it marked the end of freedom. The imperial court was a fortress of rules, every gesture, every word, judged. Her mother-in-law, Sophie, controlled everything. At one point, Sisi spotted two cousins from Bavaria, the only familiar faces in a sea of strangers. Instinctively, she rushed toward them, wanting to embrace. Sophie raised her hand. An empress does not hug. She offers her hand to be kissed. Sisi broke into tears. She fled the hall. She collapsed in the next room. The first days of marriage were not spent with her husband, but amid endless ceremonies and Sophie's strict supervision. Franz Joseph worked from dawn to night. Sisi was left alone, surrounded by courtiers who saw her as an uneducated country girl. Just 14 days after her wedding, she wrote in her diary, "I wake up in a dungeon." Not a metaphor, a reality. The paradise of Possenhofen was gone. Vienna was her prison. Politically, the empire was in turmoil. Hungary and Italy wanted independence. Many citizens despised the Habsburg dynasty, but there was one exception, Sisi. Even before she spoke their language, the people adored her. They saw a young woman who radiated sincerity and warmth, something the emperor did not. There was a famous saying in Vienna, "The empress conquers the provinces with her smile, where the emperor uses cannons." Sisi learned quickly. If she wanted power, if she wanted respect, she had to be beautiful. Her beauty became her armor. Every day, hours were spent on her appearance. Her hair, famously long, thick, and shiny, reached her knees. It took 4 hours a day to maintain. She woke at 4 a.m. for skincare and exercise. She followed strict diets and intense physical routines. She became the very first European beauty icon. But beauty came at a cost. It swallowed her identity. Her appearance was no longer personal, it was politics. Her body was state property. Her smile was propaganda. Sisi was celebrated like a goddess and imprisoned like a captive bird. A golden crown and a golden cage. This is only the beginning of Sisi's transformation. The free-spirited girl from Possenhofen has vanished. In her place stands a young empress, adored by millions, yet suffocating inside her own life. She will fight for her children, for independence, and for the right to be Elizabeth, not just a symbol. But that battle will come with terrible consequences, and the price she pays will be unimaginably high. In Part 2, we'll follow Sisi through heartbreak, rebellion against the court, and her desperate search for freedom, even as she becomes a myth. If you want to continue this story, comment Sisi below, and I'll bring you the next chapter of the most tragic royal icon in European history.